Check it out, we rapping for the Texas. Little bitty and Crenshaw Bridge reflection. Houston rap style, we bringing the heat. Talking Texas football, London compete. Got the best podcast, the livest in the game. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Remember the name. We talking draft picks, we talking defense. We break it all down, no nonsense. H-Town with the Run Showdown on the mic, talking Texas football every Wednesday night with special guests dropping knowledge, taking the stage. Diggity and Crenshaw Briggs be holding it down in the H-Town, wiping it down, talking touchdowns in H-Town. Houston culture, we holding it down, talking news and rumors, keeping it real. No filter, we got the Texas appeal. In the Lone Star City, we're living it up, talking all things Texas, we can't get enough. From the football field to the concrete jungle, we're ripping H-Town. Ain't nothing humble, bitch.
Oh, what is cooking, everyone? It's your boy Seth Briggs with the Texans Fan Battle Podcast, brought to you by Fan Battle Sports Network. We got a special guest, but before I introduce him, let me introduce my buddy pal today, Mr. Kenneth. How's it going on, buddy?
Going pretty good. How's everybody doing, man?
And always, we got Bo and Crenshaw not be able to make it because of work issues. Hopefully, we get on next week. But to our amazing guest, guys, this guy has been covering the Texans, writing columns for years and years. Some great work. We got Mr. Jerome Solomon. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. I'm here on a football show in the middle of the NBA draft, but that's all right. You sucked me in 4 or 5 months ago. Didn't tell a brother the draft was tonight, but that's all right.
I told you,
you got me. You got me.
Look, the Texans been so hot. I totally forgot about the draft. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And there's no Frenchmen to get in the NFL draft. And they just dominate the NBA draft. But I'm here with y'all, so this is more exciting. Trust me.
At least it looks like the Texans or the Rockets finally got a shooter. So I mean, at least they can check that off the bucket list.
Yeah, but he can shoot, but he's a little fellow though. So we'll see how he pans out.
Yeah, that's the true test, right? See if he can do it in the NBA. So. Well, Joe, let's talk some football. Before we talk about the Texans, some news in NFL-wise, the Panthers and Jaguars, the two newest expansion teams before the Texans, got approved for new stadiums. Do you think that is going to help the NFL or just stay the same?
Oh, no, that makes a difference. I mean, the Jaguars have just been in a tough situation in general. New stadium won't hurt them at all. But they were struggling to draw fans there, period. It's a small town, and the team has had some up and down success, but not a dominant run. They've had to block off huge sections of the stadium. Every time I go to Jacksonville for a game, they've got the black tarp covering up sections and sections of seats, and they are volunteering more than happy to play home games in London because, they just haven't been able to draw the fans. The stadium brings in more revenue, and that's what I know the owner of the Jaguars pretty well. I know his son, Tony Khan, extremely well, and talked to him a lot over the years. And with every NFL team, it's all about revenue. They all make money. They make money. They're in the black before they even sell a ticket. So the more suites they can sell and, that type of thing, get more corporate dollars in, the better it is for the team, the more money they can spend, as opposed to, being tight under the so-called salary cap. But yeah, that's a good thing for them. And Charlotte, that's their owner is, one of the wealthiest guys in the league. He'll be fine regardless.
Right. And it also helps him he owns AEW. It helps him get more pay-per-views for events like that. Hope maybe a Super Bowl one year,
it helps with the NFL did that thing in Jacksonville, and they won't be going back there again. It did not go very well. They just don't have enough, 5-star quality hotels, and people were staying on yachts and cruise ships type things, etc. And it didn't really work out well. I don't see that happening again for Jacksonville. But I haven't read any of the stories. But usually the league promises a city or an area that you'll get a Super Bowl if you come up with all the millions that it'll take to build next year. Now it's $1 billion probably to build a stadium. They usually make those promises. I don't know if they would do that for Jacksonville because the other owners did not like that week in Jacksonville for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, if I had a stadium yacht, I wouldn't be too upset about it either. But that's just me. How do you like the concept?
The last time I rolled my yacht, and stuck in Jacksonville for a week, I wasn't happy either. So I know how it is.
Well, how do you like about the concept of the Jaguars? To me, it looks like a big toilet bowl, but that's just probably because it's the Jaguars.
Yeah, it's well, you're a fan, so you're anti.
Right.
But Jacksonville is like Conroe, just a little bit bigger. I mean, it's just not a great happening city. But there are a lot of good people there. Team wise, I mean, like I said, I know the owner. I know what they've been trying to do. They were one of the teams that were ahead of things analytically, just weren't able to piece things together. And that team, I mean, they've had some times when they've been really competitive and pretty good. They just fall off a little bit. The Trevor Lawrence contract is a fascinating one. It's like, will he be able to live up to it? I think he's a talented player. But again, just like the franchise, he hasn't been consistently good.
Yeah, yes, sir. Kenneth, what's your thoughts on about these new stadiums?
I haven't really looked deep into it, but at the end of the day, like it's a good thing, especially for the organizations. It's always an exciting thing for the players, the fans, when they get a new stadium, or just like with the Texans when they upgrade their locker room. It's always an exciting thing to see owners upgrade their stadiums, their locker rooms, and all that stuff. So, it's a good thing for the league.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the Texans. Before we get to the main reason why we're here, Mr. Solomon, we've been asking all of the guests that come on, what is your opinion about the new jerseys? Are you a fan or?
I couldn't hear that last part.
Are you a fan of the jersey or just they're okay?
I say that again. My volume is really low, so I'm getting.
No worries. The jerseys. Are you a fan of them?
The jerseys. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Hey.
Yeah, I won't be buying one because I'm not a fan, so I don't really care about them. They are very Atlanta Falconish. I think a couple of them are, but the one thing about because I don't have an opinion in terms of because I just don't care that I've only had like 2 jerseys in my entire life, and one was an Earl Campbell jersey because my sister went to UT when he was there, and the other was a Michael Jordan jersey that I bought the first time I went to Chicago in Jordan's rookie year. So I'm not one of those guys, but it's always exciting when fans are excited about the uniforms and are excited about the team, and that's what I'll tell you. Not to be flip, but it's because the team is good that the fans are really into the jersey. If they were introducing a jersey after a 2-14 season, everybody would hate them. You know what I mean? There are people who don't like them, but most people, from what I gather, love them. That's because the team is good, and that's because C.J. Stroud is wearing it. You know what I mean? If Davis Mills starting quarterback wearing a jersey, it would be a lot more disliked than it is.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I agree with you. I've always been saying, whatever they wear on the field, as long as they're winning, that's what matters. As long as they're winning, they can go out there in trash bags for all I care. As long as they're putting up W's, that's the only thing that matters to me. But I with that being said, I do like the new jerseys. Is this something new? But moving on. So let's talk about expectations. We talked about we got new jerseys. But now we got a new roster too. We got a new receiver in Stephon Diggs, a great pass rusher on the other edge of Will Anderson Jr. We made a lot of moves this offseason to put us up there. What is your expectations for the Texans this year?
I mean, my expectations are if they maximize what they have and play as well as I think they can, this is a Super Bowl contender. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. How it plays out, you'll find out as the season goes, and you kind of see how they match up against the better teams and how well they play at home and on the road and in different situations, and how good of an offense do they actually have. But yeah, the Super Bowl is on the tape. I think it would be we'd be remiss if we didn't act like they could make it to a Super Bowl. Yes, Kansas City is the best team in the AFC and has been for quite a few years running, but it's rare for teams to continue said run. The Patriots managed to do it. We'll see if the Chiefs can, but the Texans aren't on paper way behind the Chiefs in terms of what they do. The Chiefs just have a veteran quarterback and a veteran coach who's gotten it done before, and a roster that's gotten it done before, and the Texans don't have that. But the Chiefs didn't have that until they had it as well. Aside from the coaching aspect with Andy Reid, had been in the league a long time. But yeah, I mean, and there's the other teams that are contenders, just like the Texans, and we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, if I would not be sitting here shocked or giving interviews or talking, covering the team in the playoffs and, going, man, I'm surprised that this team is, finished with the second best record in the conference, or the best record in the conference, and got a home field advantage. I would not be surprised.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it. Kenneth, what do you think about the expectations?
Like you said, the expectations is honestly Super Bowl. We have all these players that's speaking about it, and for me, as far as my expectations, of course, as a fan, I want to humble myself a little bit, but I do feel like it's AFC Championship or bust. That's how I feel. If we don't make it to the AFC Championship and take that next step, something we haven't done yet, and we made it to the divisional round a couple of times, but we need to take the next step to make it to the AFC Championship. We have the weapons, you know what I'm saying? We have the players. The team is definitely got way better than it was last year. And at the end of the day, we have that quarterback. Of course, we hoping for elite and CJ Stroud. We hoping for a MVP type season from him. I mean, we get that. The sky's the limit, and definitely see a Super Bowl in the next year or two.
And I'll tell you too. That's to pick up on what Kenneth said, that the players and coaching staff and the organization's expectations are more important than the fans. And often you get organizations that try to downplay the expectations just because their jobs are on the line quite often, and they don't want to say we want to go to the Super Bowl. We're a Super Bowl caliber team, because then when they miss the playoffs, somebody's getting fired.
Yep.
So they usually downplay it, but the Texans aren't that kind of organization anymore. That it doesn't fit the personality. D'Amico Ryans isn't talking about, oh, we just want to sneak into the playoffs and see what happens. He didn't say that last year. You know what I mean? In his first year and everything, he wasn't talking about, let's just try to win a couple of games and we'll see. No, he was coming here to win, and he wants to win it all. Caserio is that type of guy, and obviously, the quarterback and C.J. Stroud talks a big game because he delivers a big game. So they're not afraid of the expectation. They're not running from it. They're not going to enter training camp. Their first press conference when they talk in training camp, they're going to push it to the side and say, we're concerned about the next practice, but they're not going to hide from the overall goal is to win it all, and they believe they can get it done. And that matters more than anything, because the teams that don't think they can win it all have no chance.
Absolutely. I love that. Speaking of CJ Stroud, there's people like Mike Florio saying that he's running his mouth too much, that he just needs to shut up and basically play football. What's your opinions? Do you think CJ is doing too much, or CJ being CJ? Let him be.
Well, he's being himself for sure. That's he's very authentic. So it's not fake, and it's not something where he's talking trash just to make himself feel better about himself. Oh no, he believes in himself, and I don't have a problem with that. And it has been an issue in other sports. Generally in football, it's a little bit different, and guys aren't as out there. But this generation is different. This generation is used to saying what they think and telling everybody what they think. Tom Brady, grew up in a different generation where there was no social media, so people didn't get to know what he thought all the time. And then he went to an organization that was pretty closed. But I worked for the Boston Globe and covered the Patriots as the lead beat writer for a couple seasons and got to be around him. He talks a lot of shit. He talked trash all the time to his teammates, to opponents. I mean, that's who he was. Had he grown up in this era with social media, I guarantee you Tom Brady would have been telling people a lot more and be a lot more like a CJ Stroud, even with their different personalities. So people, there are a lot of people who didn't get a taste of Tom Brady's real personality until the roast when they heard him telling the jokes, and they're like, wait a minute, this Tom Brady? Well, that's who he is and always was. So I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, it's fascinating for people to talk about, but if you as an opponent, you're a defensive player for the Colts and you need CJ Stroud to get you fired up to play the Texans, you're not that good of a player any damn way. You know what I mean? You're just not. And so I don't think he's riling up other teams. All he's doing is building up confidence within his teammates and letting them know, this is where I stand, and they're going to be like, I got your back. But he's also, when the Texans fall short, and they will, they're not going to win every Super Bowl for the next 10 years. When they do, opposing fans are going to go, ha ha, see, you're not that good. And but they were going to say that anyway. You know what I mean? They do that. People telling Tom Brady he's not that good after he already won 4 or 5 Super Bowls. It's just the way the world works. So no, it's not a distraction because it's the off season. There's no games being played. He's just having fun, being himself, and he's an humble guy, but he's also confident.
And you gotta love that in a quarterback, right? And any position, that's the best position to have those traits as a quarterback.
Oh, well, I would much rather my quarterback believe in himself than be tap dancing around like, well, I don't know. Hopefully things will go our way and we'll get lucky and get a couple of good bounces and win a game or two. We'll see what happens. No, Tom Brady, after he was drafted in the 6th round, I'm sure you've heard this story many times, walked up to Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, met him for the first time. How you doing? I'm Tom Brady, and drafted me was the best decision this organization ever made.
And
that's a dude that if podcast existed would have been telling y'all, look out for me, watch what I'm gonna do, and that's what CJ Stroud is doing. And beyond that too, people taking it way too seriously. Some of it he's just having fun with friends of his. He's just poking guys and joking with them. It's not that deep.
Yeah, that's the bad thing too about, like you said, this era we live in. People in the sports media like to take snippets and not explain the whole story. So it's kind of rough to see that, but people are going to do what people are going to do. Staying on CJ Stroud, what is your expectations for him this year? A lot of people expect him to have a sophomore slump, but me and Kenneth, we're strong believers that he could be the finalist for the MVP. He could win it all. What's your expectations for CJ Stroud?
If he's the quarterback that I think he is, he'll be in the MVP hunt, for the rest of his career. Barring injury, et cetera, every season he's going to be one of those guys who is in the mix for getting it done. And I say that not because of what he did last season, but it was how he did it. He did it in a way where, he didn't just play good for a rookie. He played good for a quarterback in the NFL. So, and he played smart. He played intelligently. He made the right reads. He made a lot of physical plays. He had some luck. I mean, especially in the first half of the season, there were 4 or 5, defensive players who dropped, potential interceptions, et cetera. But had those guys even made those plays, his numbers still would have been ridiculous. To throw as few interceptions as he did, gives you an idea of how he reads defenses and how he understands the game plan, et cetera. And then when you hear him talk about the game plan, even immediately after the game or the weeks after or after the season, when he goes back and talks about plays and games, this guy has that mind of that Peyton Manning type of mind. Tom Brady has that, where these guys can go back and recall plays from years ago and game plays and game plans and how they approached it. And that's a unique trait. When you have that trait and you have his physical tools, and then you have players around you, weapons around you, you're always going to be in the mix for MVP. You're just a talented player. You don't go in,
Right.
for what, a long stretch. You didn't go into seasons wondering what's your expectation of Aaron Rodgers. Well, I don't know. But yeah, he was he was going to be in the mix of one of the best players in the league, and he always was, and Tom Brady always was, and Peyton Manning always was. C.J. Stroud should be that guy. You rarely put that on the guy after 1 year, no doubt. But he showed in this year, and the way he did it, like, and maybe the best way of putting it after I did all that rambling was he didn't play well for a rookie to where you go, man, if he improves next year, he's going to be great. No, he played so well that he doesn't need to improve. He just needs to continue what he already did, and he'll be great because he was already great. So that tells me there that this guy is something special. And his numbers may not be as good, and he'll be a better player, but I'd be shocked if he doesn't continue to be one of the best quarterbacks in the game.
Yeah, I like what you said, how he did it, right? Like the first 2 games, the offense wasn't really gelling. He even said on the post conference, hey, they need to put trust, open the game plan, open the game book. Like I want to be the focal point. And look what he did from there on. From the Jaguars, to me, was the turning point where they put the trust in CJ. And let's not forget injuries. The offensive line was a dismantled wreck. Like it was a car wreck, just destroying every bits and pieces of it. And then you got Nico Collins going out, Tank Dell out for the rest of the season, Noah Brown, just pieces that he needs to be, to be successful going out.
Yeah, Damian Pierce took the season off. Yeah,
I was about to say, and then you had no run game until half the season. So now, and the good thing about that too is you got a GM in Nick Caserio where he helped build that for him. He went and got a Joe Mixon. He went and got Stephon Diggs. To me, I think the most underrated thing the Texans did this whole offseason was the defense. They went and got DeMeco's guys. They went and got a pass rush, and that's why C.J. Stroud don't have to carry this game on his back.
The defense is going to be, that's going to determine how far they go in the playoffs. I think they'll have a top 5 offense pretty naturally just by the weapons that they have and what they can do on that side of the ball. And they're so deep with receivers that I hate to say it, but for fans, I'm sure, shut up, don't say it, but they're kind of injury free at receiver. They can withstand a guy or two going down for a few games here or there because they have so many weapons there. But the defense is going to set the tone, and it's a defensive head coach in DeMeco Ryans. And people have been asking me, who's the most important, what's the most important for the Texans defense this, coming season. And I'm saying it's DeMeco Ryans because he is the key to what they will do defensively. And he will put guys in position to make plays. And the positions where they're not as strong, let's see how he works around it. But it'll be fascinating to see. When they play great defense, they're going to win games easily. When they don't play great, when they're just average, they might still win a few of those games easily because their offense could still light it up. And their offense is good enough now that they can win a shootout. So it's going to be really fascinating to see how it works out. But I do think that how DeMeco puts those guys in position to make plays, and if the defense can step up, and especially if the defense, the turnover thing is a lot of it is luck of the draw. So if they luck out and have one of those years where they're forcing a whole lot of turnovers and putting the offense in real easy positions to score, it's going to be an easy run through the season, and then in the playoffs you see what happens. But the defense can't get pushed around. That'll be important. But I think they're too talented to get pushed around.
Yeah, I think that game against the Ravens, that was the changing point for DeMeco, right? Like he saw that front seven get bullied against the Ravens, and that's what he wanted to fix. And it seemed like he did with the guy like Autry. I'm going to murder his name, the Jaguars defensive tackle, Falisco.
And Danielle Hunter, etc.
And Danielle Hunter, yeah. And then you went got Saziz.
At middle
It,
linebacker. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I do think that, on paper at least, it looks like you might be able to run at them and run straight at them. So they might still have trouble with a team like the Ravens
mhm.
in that kind of situation. But like I said, the offense didn't do what it would normally do in that game. Dude, still haven't thawed out from that game. It was cold. It was brutally cold. It was a bad day for football for them, and they were still in the game. They were still in the game through into the third quarter. So it wasn't one of those where they just got dominated and beat badly. They weren't the better team, and often you need to be the better team to win, or you have to play well, and they didn't play well that day. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where this is all on paper, but they are better on offense and they're better on defense than they were a year ago going into the season. And if you improve on a team that won 10 games and won its division, um, that makes you a contender, And there have been a lot of teams who've been in that situation who you thought were an up-and-coming team, and they added a few pieces in the offseason and came back the next year and fell flat on their face. The reason I don't think that'll happen, I wrote this the day they hired DeMeco Ryans, is like he's going to be a great NFL head coach, period. And there was no doubt in my mind about that because everybody he's ever been around said that about him. When they hired Bill O'Brien, I was like, he might be all right. I don't know. Turned out he was okay, but he was, a lot of people think he's worse than he is, but I didn't think he was going to be all that special. Gary Kubiak, I'm like, I don't know. He might be all right. DeMeco Ryans had no question about that. And so he's not one of those guys who 3 or 4 years from now, people say, man, what happened to DeMeco Ryans? I thought he was going to be a good coach. No, he is unique in what he brings to the table and always has been since he was in high school. So I see the Texans on an upward rise from here forward. What that means this season, can't tell you. I don't know how it'll play out. Schedule is what it is. You got to play who you play, and it's not an easy run. But none of them are in the NFL generally, and you don't know. They've got teams on the schedule. You're like, man, that's gonna be a tough game. But those teams might suck by the time the Texans play them. You just don't know. But I can tell you this: the Texans expect to do damage, and I'd be shocked if they don't.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I think DeMeco Ryans is our Mike Tomlin, our forever coach. I don't think he'll have a winning streak like Mike Tomlin, but I think he'll be here for a very long time. Kenneth, you got any things to add or ask Mr. Solomon?
I would like to ask, what game is the game that you for this season that's coming up? What game are you most excited about?
The Chiefs. I mean, that's the one. I mean, but they have a lot of. I mean, the schedule they play some really fun teams, and for fans, I mean, the Cowboys game is just going to be great, period. But the Chiefs game is where I think they get a measure, and by the time we get to that part of the season, I can see people saying this is an AFC, title game preview, or it could be. They might be playing the winner of that is going to have the home field advantage for when they play in the playoffs or something by that point in the season. And I really fully expect by then that the Texans will have proven to be one of the best teams in the conference. And unless the Chiefs fall way off, which I don't expect, they will be there. As we know they'll be there among the best. So that game by then we'll have a good idea if they're the Super Bowl contender that I believe they will be. And so I think by then that'll be the most exciting game to see.
Yeah, the fact that we played the Ravens the week before is even crazy.
And I mean, in that back to back, you get a taste. It's the playoffs. Those are playoff caliber games, playoff level games against two of the teams that have been the best for the last 3 or 4 seasons. Even though the Ravens haven't advanced to the Super Bowl, we know how good they are and what they can do. So yeah, that right about then is when it'll get good. And I mean, every game matters in the NFL. I get it, but the first part of the season, that's just fun stuff. That's just to get you excited, get you going, get your juices flowing. Like Bill Belichick always told me, like after Thanksgiving, that's when we get real serious. Before then, we're working on stuff. trying to win every game. Don't be ridiculous. But after Thanksgiving is when the champions come out, and so that time of the year when it gets to December, we'll get to know what the Texans are really made of.
Yeah, I seen the interview where Andy Reid said week 6 is probably the week where you finally see everything come together. It's like, okay, this is the team you're getting. This is the team that everything's put together and is ready to rock. So I agree with that.
Yeah, because
But
you can't remake your roster in the middle of the season. So
absolutely right.
and so you go into training camp, knowing what you have, but not knowing how it all fits. I mean, like the Texans are in a training camp, they know Joe Mixon can play, but they don't know how he's going to fit into their offense. They don't, they know how they want to fit him into it, but they don't know the best things that he can do within what they do until they actually see it on the field. And so he may be better than they thought. He may be not as good, or they have to come up with something else, different ways of using him. But as they do that, that's what happens over the first 4, 5, 6 games that you say Andy Reid talks about. That's by then, okay, I know what we have here. I know what we got and how we can work around it. And we lock in on, certain position, but that's across the board. Teams learn at every position. Okay, here's the rotation we need. Here are the number of snaps a guy needs. Here are the positions we can put him in, because now you have enough on tape to see what the team is made of and what kind of team you have. But you can't make too many drastic changes at that point. You got to work around it. And the Texans coaching staff is really good, really sharp, because they were able to take what they had in the early part of last season and turn that into a really solid playoff team. And so I expect them
a lot of people.
They got more to work with this year, so I expect them to do more of the same.
Yeah. Kenneth, you got any questions before we let Mr. Jerome go?
So you just spoke about Joe Mixon. I would like to ask you about another running back that we have on this roster. Damian Pierce. How do you feel about him? What do you expect from him this season? What are you hoping for to do this?
Yeah, because he's such a good dude and teammates like him. He works hard. It was odd to see him not be able to follow up on his rookie season last year. I mean, I know the coaching staff change and the offense change affected him, but I think people thought he was going to be better than he turned out being, and I mean, I wasn't expecting him to be a superstar in this league. Other people were like, "Oh my God!" It's what I was talking about, C.J. Stroud. It's like you see what a guy does as a rookie, and most people go, "Oh man, next year he's going to be even better." Well, it's not automatic. It doesn't come like that, and it doesn't work that way. So the key for him is to continue working hard and accept his role as the other running back behind Mixon, and it's the NFL. So I mean, Mixon, we don't know how many games Mixon will play or if he'll get injured or not. He hasn't been injury prone. He plays, and he's that, but you just don't know. But he's going to get opportunities, and it's about him taking advantage of those opportunities. I would hope that after a year in the system, that not only would he be better in working through what they do, but the offensive staff would have better ideas of ways to utilize what he does. The guy has some talent. So we're not talking about a guy. It would be different if he had his rookie season and then came back last year and weighed 20 pounds more, was out of shape, and no, it wasn't that. He just did not have a good year. He just didn't fit. He felt out of sorts. He felt out of place, and it didn't make any sense to keep running him out there when he wasn't the better option at tailback. So now his situation, it's on the coaching staff to find things that they can do with him, ways to utilize him so that he can contribute. Because we know he can play in the NFL. He's an NFL caliber running back. So how many opportunities he gets is going to be determined more by how well Mixon plays. But when he gets those opportunities, he takes advantage of them.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Mr. Jerome, before we let you go, I've got one last question for you. We ask everybody before they leave. What is your hot take for the Texans this year? It could be winning the Super Bowl, C.J. Stroud, MVP, anything crazy. What is your hot take for the Texans this year?
I don't even do hot takes.
Oh.
But, a hot take for the Texans this year. How about they will lead the entire NFL in points per game. They're going to outscore everybody in the league. They're going to put up points at a ridiculous rate, and it's just going to be that way. And a lot of it will be because of the defense. If the defense plays well and gives them the ball over and over and over again, they're going to score. Defense gets a lot of turnovers, more points. If the defense plays poorly, they're in a shootout, more points and more yards. So they're not going to have a lot of games where they score under 20 points. They're going to be one of the highest. They're going to be the highest scoring team in the NFL. How many wins that translate to, we'll see.
Oh, I love it. Well, in the wise words of our boy Crenshaw, this is the worst part of the show. It's because it's the end. Jerome, why don't you tell everybody what you got cooking and where we can find you on social media? That way we can support you.
Well, I'm at Jerome Solomon. That's the easiest way to find me. I'm there on X/Twitter, and that's it. You can reach out to me, catch me anytime, and I've got a couple things coming up here, but that I can't talk about for another few weeks. But I'm there, always will be, and it's gonna be Texans fans. It's going to be a fun season, and if it's not, it's gonna be miserable because Texans fans have dealt with this before, where it's like, oh man, this 2013, we're gonna kill them, and it didn't happen. So I feel your pain. I think you're finally at a point where you can get over that and move on to the good old days of the Texans are coming up right now, and it's a lot like the feeling I had in 2015, 16, entering 2017 with the Astros. I'm like, people, the good old days are about to start now. And that's exactly what it is with the Texans. We'll see if it plays out that way.
Oh, that's music to our ears. Well, Kenneth, tell us where we can find you at.
Find me on Instagram and YouTube at Kenneth the Messenger, and Twitter Messenger_Keno. And I'm as y'all know, I'm a gospel artist, and I speak positivity. Also working on some community things. So y'all stay on the lookout and keep supporting the Fan Battle podcast. Texans Fan Battle.
Yeah, and you can find me at A1 Day 1 Texans everywhere. I got a new episode of Cooking with Chef Briggs dropping this Saturday. Also, find our boys Bo Diggity at Bo Diggity 713 and Crenshaw at Fifth Word Crenshaw. And make sure you follow the podcast at Everywhere Texans Fan Battle. Until next week, guys, have a wonderful week and stay blessed.
Yo, check it out, we rapping for the Texans. Put it in.